Hi, I'd like to welcome you today to our roundtable chat here, and we're going to be covering hunting land, real estate, hunting tips, different things like that. And my name is Jacqueline, and I will be talking to these two wonderful gentlemen here. And first we have Jeremy Van Hooley. He is the owner-broker of Whitetail Dreams Real Estate located in Waupaca County, Wisconsin. And we're also with Patrick Guyse. And Patrick, could you do me a favor and just introduce yourself a little bit, give me a little bit of your background and how you got here?
Sure. So I got my real estate license in 2018. I've been with Jeremy here at Whitetail Dreams ever since and haven't gotten to know him over the last 5 years. The reason I'm going first is because there's a good chance the rest of you don't hear me get a word in edgewise throughout this. But my background prior to and still during real estate is actually in forestry. So I went to UW Stevens Point for forest management, graduated in 2014, and between then and now I've worked for a couple different companies, primarily as a procurement forester, which is more or less a fancy word for timber buyer. Essentially my job was to get the wood that was standing on a private landowner's property to the sawmill. And in doing that, I had to work with a lot of different pieces of the puzzle and all the logistics. I had to meet with the landowner, walk the property with them, educate them kind of on what their timber actually was, and work with contracts with that private landowner between the company and them, work with the logistics of marking the timber, bringing in a logging crew, trucking the material, and dealing with the cleanup afterwards. So a lot of boots on the ground kind of work. And while I was doing that, I'd run into people who say they just bought a property. They'd call and say, hey, we're hoping you come out, tell us a little bit more about what we bought. Or running into sellers who were considering listing their property and wondering, should I have a timber harvest before selling my property? And I just kind of felt there was maybe two sides to this that I could be on. And so I ended up getting my real estate license in 2018. Since then, I've transitioned to consulting forestry. So I still have a consulting firm where I'm marking timber. I do a lot with the Managed Forest Law program, or MFL, as we'll probably use about 100 times throughout these shows. But that allowed me to basically better balance doing full-time real estate while still providing real estate clients with the strong forestry background. And the transition was actually, surprisingly, almost as I expected it to be, which you don't usually get to say. Basically, the professional background that I joke with people about is I'm professionally educated in trees and dirt, and that's basically what we're buying and what we're selling. And what I found in being in these sales roles, both in forestry and now in real estate, is knowledge seems to be the best tool to use. Essentially, the knowledge of what the land is allows you to basically have it sell itself to the right buyer or to the right demographic of buyers. Or if you are the buyer, it helps you find the right piece by simply being educated on what it actually is. And so in some way, shape, or form at the beginning of this, I somehow wound up with Jeremy here, and I'll let him
Somehow?
share.
Somehow?
I'll let him
No,
share a
you
little
tell
bit
tell-
about
no.
how that went and how he's developed the company that led me to be here today.
Well, I think you should tell the story about how you came to even making the call. I think that's a cool.
I don't know this story, so I would love to hear it.
The way I kind of set myself up to transition to this industry was I basically wanted to get my real estate license first. I felt that at that point then when I would start talking with companies, I brought a better value, so to speak. I had a plan that in my head at least was going to allow me to do that. And so I had my real estate license and I did the most basic simple thing a person could do. I Googled hunting land realtors or real estate agents or something like that in Wisconsin. There were a couple that I knew they had good reputations, but they also had already a lot of agents in the area. And one thing I was kind of familiar with real estate is you have two forms of competition: internal competition, as far as you work for a company and agents in your area, you're competing with them, and external competition. And I felt the lines of external competition are clearly drawn. It's a different company. Internal competition, I was worried about, like, would I actually get some good mentorship, some good training, be in a good community or culture, so to speak, within that company. Anyways, one of the first ones on the list was Whitetail Dreams Real Estate. So they made it to the first page of Google. That was a good box to check. And I remember looking at the website, and I looked at the agents that were there. I looked at kind of where it seemed like they were based out of, and most of them were more in the central part of the state, northeast part of the state, north central. And I was like, well, I'm in the south central, the southwest part of the state with where I currently work with forestry and where I've lived for the bulk of my life. And so I'm like, I'll just call this guy up and give him my spiel. Like, oh, here's why I'd be a benefit to your company, and here's how this is going to work. And I call him up, and I gave him that 30-second cliff notes, and his only response was, I don't want a rookie. And I was like, well, that plan got derailed pretty quick. So I backpedaled, and we had a conversation for a good 45 minutes to an hour about why I felt I wasn't necessarily a rookie, which I'm glad I believed at the time. Because given everything I've learned about the nuances of real estate over the last 5 years, I was a little bit of a rookie at first.
Well, you would have been green in regards to the real estate end of it, but not in regards to the land and timber end of it.
Correct, and that was the stronghold I had starting out. What would I guess kind of still have been a good service to those clients early on that is kind of unique in the industry is the knowledge I at least had of the product, so to speak, land and selling it, buying it, etc. The real nitty-gritty details of real estate, when you start getting into all the paperwork, the title work, the actual exchange, financing, the search process, and then this is, we're still in a realm of real estate where we overlap with the more, we'll call it traditional sense of real estate, residential real estate.
Yeah.
And even at residential, we'll say like urban residential real estate. We've specialized ourselves in doing more rural or country homes, but all that starts to overlap with this. And so that was really where I feel, looking back, it was an educational start.
He's being nice. I tried to hang up on him 3 times. Don't, I don't want to talk to you. Just.
Well, persistence is the key when it comes to
Well,
Jeremy.
And that goes back to something I kind of mentioned as far as what I was looking for was in hopes of a degree of mentorship. Essentially, I saw where people were located at, and I felt like I was not kind of a threat, so to speak, to their sales region. Anyone who knows anything about sales, not just in real estate, but in other industries, I had it even in the procurement industry for forestry, you kind of had your region to work in, so to speak. And so I felt if I was at a little bit of a distance, there wouldn't be that threat of overlap. And so that proved to be true. His first lesson to me was how to overcome objections. How to deal when someone tells you like, no, I don't care what you say, I'm not going to deal with this. And not just how to overcome objections by being stubborn or being, I guess not in a traditional sales sense, like, how do I get you to sign today? It wasn't so much being taught in that sense. It was like, well, how do you kind of continue a conversation with someone who's not very sure?
So, Patrick, what I'm hearing you say is that to overcome objections rather than just kind of plowing through it, you're more so doing it through education with the people that you're working with.
Correct. I use the term overcoming objections as let's say that's more the technical sales jargon for it. However, the other way I would phrase it is problem solving.
Sure.
Essentially using an education based in working in the natural resources, working with, say, a lot of the conservation programs that are out there. We already talked about MFL, but CRP or the CREP program, which is CREP, which can be slightly different, some of which are perpetual, some of which have a deadline to them. Basically, not just blowing past, let's say, someone's objection, but rather educating them on maybe why it's really not a problem. Or, yeah, you're right, that what they're representing is actually a problem. How do we navigate to fix that problem? And so that's basically the other version of how I look at the mentorship that I've gone through with Jeremy is how to problem solve and overcome objections using the knowledge that was already there and retooling it.